Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
This episode of the Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by our friends at BetOnline.ag. The NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball playoffs, and college football all happening at once. If you have a competitive bone in your body, right now is the best time to get a piece of all the sports betting action. Get in the mix at BetOnline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne for your 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sportsnet.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. Man, I've got an interesting podcast for you today from a guy from a real different walk of life. And his name is Jason Britton. Now, if you're from the motorcycle world, the street bike world, or even motocross world, or motorsports in general, you know who Jason Britton is. He's a professional sports bike freestyle rider. And if you want to get a taste of what this guy does or a visual for what this guy does, it's really best to probably get on his Instagram account, Jason Britton 1. JasonBritton, and then the number 1, Jason Britton 1. If you click on some of these videos and watch this guy in action and watch the way he rides these street bikes or sport bikes, it's absolutely phenomenal. Or if you want to go to YouTube, back in some of the grassroots days when they were filming these videos, type in Las Vegas Extremes 3 Urban Assault. You'll see Jason and a couple of his buddies out there on the highways riding wheelies, doing all kinds of things like jumping from the pegs to the seat of the motorcycle or sitting on the handlebars, riding a wheelie. Just absolute insanity. It's some of the most spectacular riding you'll ever see. Now, when we talk about this, Jason refers back to what he's doing now as a brand ambassador for Kawasaki Motorsports, but just in his day-to-day life. He doesn't do these things out on the highways anymore. He does lots of exhibition riding, does certain appearances throughout the year in a controlled setting where he's not putting anyone else's life at risk. He doesn't, like he says in the podcast, he doesn't want to be out there on the highway where someone is an unwilling participant. And you'll get a couple of stories from Jason from back in the day when he was doing, that type of riding, when they were filming these videos and trying to, get some notoriety or maybe get some sponsors. But a guy's got a great story. And Jason is 50 years old, and he's been riding since he was 2 years old. So he's been doing this 48 years, and it's just unbelievable what this guy does on a motorcycle. He has a website. It's jasonbritton.com. And again, on Instagram, Jason Britton 1. And he also runs Jason Britton's No Limit Motorsports over in Westminster, California, 7124 Garden Grove Boulevard. They don't sell motorcycles, but they will modify, work on, service, do all kinds of things to anything on wheels with respect to motorcycles, four-wheelers, and stuff like that. So I've known Jason for a couple of years now. We've been crossing paths, and we always say hi to each other. And, man, I saw him do some stuff the other day, and I said, man, I sure would love to talk to you on my podcast. You got some time? And he goes, oh, man, I'd love to do the podcast. So I guess he's followed my career a little bit. So over the week, we got in a hotel room, and we started talking about his beginnings, coming from Hollywood, California, moving to Huntington Beach, California, and how he started riding and picking up the skill set to do all the things that he's done. And, man, as you'll hear in Jason's story, he's a self-made guy, just works his tail off, and complete dedication. And riding motorcycles is his absolute number one passion in life. Has a beautiful wife, 4 beautiful kids, is a family man, but, man, he loves to be on the back of a motorcycle. So we talk about that. And with riding a motorcycle, the way Jason does, as you're coming up and doing some of the stunts that he's done, in all the movies that he's participated in and just doing these exhibitions, sometimes it's not if you crash, it's when you crash. And Jason's 50 years old. He's younger than me by just a couple of years, but boy, I tell you what, he had broken his neck twice. He's got a 3-level fusion, broken both of his legs. He has 2 legs, broken both arms. He's broken dang near about every bone in his body, and he keeps coming back for more. So anyway, safety is always first and foremost, but along the way, things are going to happen. I really enjoyed talking to Jason. He's one of the OGs. He's one of the real godfathers of freestyle stunting. And it was just a pleasure to talk to him, and I hope you enjoy his story because this guy is wise beyond his years. He's very smart. He's got a couple of good life lessons in there as well. So I'm going to end this open right here, and here is professional sports bike freestyle rider extraordinaire, Jason Britton. You know how it is for the kid here on Saturdays at the crib. It's all about college football. The competition this season has been off the charts. For all of you looking to get in on the sports betting action, right now it's a great time to get involved. Here's what we got this weekend. It's Wolverines of Michigan taking on Penn State, Arizona State squaring off against Utah, Oregon versus Washington, and Texas A&M facing Ole Miss. Visit our good friends and exclusive partners at PodcastOne, betonline.ag to take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. Sign up today for a free account at betonline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne. Again, that's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partners of PodcastOne Sportsnet.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, Steve Austin sitting here in Palm Desert, California, out here at the Kawasaki Dealers Convention with Jason Britton. I mean, Jesus, when you're talking about riding a motorcycle, there's few human beings in the world that ride at the level that you ride at. So anyway, it's good to be talking to you, man.
It's great to talk to you, Steve. I am a longtime fan, and this is a great honor for me. From seeing what you did in the ring and what you're doing outside the ring, even more importantly, reaching people, and it's just incredible for me.
I'm trying to reach people, but we're going to reach some more people with what you do because I've known you for a couple of years out here, and I've been watching you ride. And open to the show, I told people, I said, hey, man, before you listen to this podcast, if you don't know who Jason Britton is, go to his Instagram account, Jason Britton, Britton, number 1, just the number 1, to get some footage, or go to YouTube and watch Urban Assault 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
Because, man, when I'm watching these things, it just blows me away. And I've seen you up close and personal ride these motorcycles like you do, and it's just crazy. So here you are. You're 50 years old. You're one of the OGs, of this sport.
Yes, sir.
And you kind of describe yourself. I mean, you're a professional sports bike freestyle rider.
Yep.
And also a stunt man, correct?
Yes, I do Hollywood stunts as well, music videos. I've made the likes of Dwayne Wade look like he was sliding under a big rig, as I showed you yesterday. And just, I get to do a lot of cool stuff, but I don't have to wear it when I walk outside my hotel room. People don't know that I'm that guy behind the scenes.
That's interesting to be like that. But here's the thing. You're a family man, beautiful wife, 2 wonderful sons, 2 beautiful daughters. But you've always had a love affair and a passion for motorcycles, and you started riding at 2 years of age. That's right. Hard for me to comprehend when I've seen you do some of these interviews. So you're born in Cali, I guess Hollywood. You live in Huntington Beach, California right now.
Correct.
How do you get on a motorcycle at 2 years of age? Take me back to this.
I'm going to take you back. The funny thing is, my dad used to be, it was really upsetting to him, as for me being a one and a half year old child, to be so infatuated with motorcycles at that point in my life. Anytime we were driving in the car and I could just creep up enough to see a motorcycle, I would say, Momo, Momo. And my dad, every time my uncles had bikes, and my dad took me to my uncle's house one day. I was 2 years old. I was already riding a bicycle around as a kid. And my dad saw this little Honda Trail 50 back in the day, and he said, hey, can my son ride that? And he's like, I don't know if he could ride, but we'll put him on it. And he goes, my dad goes, well, it'll probably scare him away from motorcycles, the sounds and everything else. They put me on the bike. They held me up, pushed me off, and I rode the thing until it ran out of gas. And my dad right there knew that he had messed up. So that's where the passion. He was trying to scare you away from it. He scared you right to it. He was trying to scare me away, and he didn't understand the passion that could be that strong at 2 years old.
So how'd it go from there? I mean, like as you were coming up, I mean, if you start riding a motorcycle at 2 years of age, I mean, are you just like super focused on two wheels, or you have a normal childhood and you do other sports? Because I know you're into MMA and you practice certain different things with respect to that. Tell me about growing up real quick.
Growing up, Huntington Beach, Jason Britton, I was one of two families in Huntington Beach that were black. We didn't have tons of money. My parents worked their butts off, 3 jobs apiece to get us there and to make a better life for us. For me, getting on a motorcycle was not the easiest thing because we didn't have the money. My uncle ended up gifting that Honda Trail 50 way back when to my parents, so I had something to ride. But eventually I outgrew that bike. Then they got me on a Suzuki RM65 or 80, RM80 back when I would get out to the track and make it to some races here and there at Saddleback Park and different venues. But it was a tough go, and I would always be the guy that had the ability, but I didn't have the means to get a motorcycle. So I was riding friends' bikes. I was doing all these different things, and I was working crazy odd jobs. I would deliver newspapers. I would go to Meadowlark Golf Course at night with water boots on and go in, and I would get golf course balls out of the golf course lakes. I would take them home, clean them, and sell them to the pro shop to make money. By the time I was 14, I was able to buy my first motorcycle. Bought a motorcycle, kept it from my parents, a street bike now, not talking dirt bikes anymore. I kept it at my buddy's house. And
now, hold on, see, now in the wrestling business, we call that kayfabe. I mean, a secret. It happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas. So you're kayfabing your parents on a street bike. How'd you keep it a secret from them?
I kept the bike at a buddy's house, a buddy named Steve. He kept the bike hidden. He didn't really know how to ride the thing, but he was letting me keep it there if he could tell chicks that was his bike. So he would get girls to come to his house.
It's a win-win.
It is a win. And then, so the funny thing is, girls would come over, hang out at his house, and they would look at the bike and take pictures with the bike, but they would always ask him to take him for a ride, and he could never get him on the back and take him for a ride because he didn't know how to ride. So then I would show up at the house, and I would get out, and I would do wheelies up and down the street. And this is a residential track. And the girls would always end up wanting to get on the bike and go ride with me. So I'd take them out, do a couple wheelies, and they didn't want anything to do with him after that. So it's kind of a bummer.
Oh, man, the dude's hiding your motorcycle, and then you're stealing all the women. That ain't right.
And I didn't even have any interest in the girls back then. Yeah. I was all about motorcycles and sports.
Well, take me back to, so what was the first bike you purchased with your own money?
It was an FZ600.
Wow.
Yamaha.
At how old? 14
I was
16?
almost 15 years old. 14 and a half years old.
That's pretty good CC for a young kid like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start off on RM80, right?
Yep.
So were you entrenched in the dirt world of the motocross?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The thing was, with my parents working their butts off, and I didn't have a driver's license, and I had no means, a truck or anything to get out riding. So I had friends, a guy by the name of Matt Rossi back in the day. I can remember that. But he was an older kid. He was about 19 or 20 years old at the time. He lived on his own in my neighborhood. He rode dirt bikes, and he would take me out to the track with him, and we'd go out, and I'd scrape up just enough money to get out there and race at the Saddleback Park and do a little bit of the amateur stuff. But it was just, it was such good times and such good memories because the way to come about doing things without the means to do it, it made me feel at that point that I was very independent and very resourceful. It's rough to see.
Sure makes you
now.
Appreciate a lot more.
Yeah, you sure do. You appreciate being able to work hard to get something, and that's not something that's very common anymore.
Agreed. Hey, but what separated the passion for you? I know you love anything on two wheels, but you're in the dirt. But you buy this street bike, and man, that's to me. I mean, well, that's kind of where you're at. What got you about the street bike versus being in the dirt that you really fell in love with?
I'll tell you what it is, Steve. So when I wanted to ride my dirt bike, I'd have to load the bike up, get it in a truck. If I didn't have a truck, get a buddy with a truck, get out to the track. It was a big program to get out to ride dirt bikes.
You're right.
A street bike, you open the garage, you back the thing out, you start it up, you put your gear on, and you go. It's as simple as that. And it was the same kind of a rush for me because when I was on the street, I could actually ride the bike from wherever I was at, go out, do wheelies, get my fix, my rush, however I could at that point. and come back home and park it in the garage and just be my normal self again, which wasn't like a bad thing or anything else, but really motorcycles were like the air in my lungs. So when I couldn't breathe, I would get on my motorcycle. When I had a bad day or couldn't focus, I'd get on my motorcycle. It was just a release.
It does make sense because, when you go into the dirt track, I mean, a lot of guys are throwing their bikes or bike in the back of a pickup truck or trailer and are going out, like in California, like say to Gorman or wherever to go ride. So, if all you got to do is roll up your garage and there's your track, it's the street.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long did it take for you to get a license, or were you getting pulled over by cops at an early age because you're not legal?
Yeah, at that point, okay, so we're going to get into some little known facts, but the Huntington Beach police know the facts, and now a lot of them have been long-term friends. I've been friends with these guys for years and years and years. I used to ride my bike. I was a very recognizable guy. My motorcycles were very recognizable. I would play cat and mouse, so to speak, without making it sound like a criminal. I would play cat and mouse. The cops knew me. They, more so at the time, wanted to tell me how crazy I was and how much talent I had and that I should do it somewhere else, but I would never hang around to have that conversation. So I would always be gone when I saw them before I thought they saw me. So I would just gone. And obviously I don't recommend that for anyone. Now, growing and learning, I have so much respect for the law. I have a lot of family in law enforcement, and any sign of a red or blue light, or even if there's no lights, I stop, I respect the law, and I pull over. I haven't had a ticket in over 20 years.
Hey, man, growing up, on a motorcycle in the streets way back in the day when you're a kid, and we're watching some of those videos as Jason and I are speaking. I have it on Urban Assault, and y'all filmed these videos way back in the day, and I'm watching because you see some of the formative stuff, and we're going to get to the toll this takes on your body. But if you're just a kid, you get your first bike, and man, I'm watching you ride this motorcycle at close to 100 miles an hour. You're facing backwards, twisting the throttle with your left hand, or just jumping from the pegs to the seat, standing there with your arms spread. So how do you go about starting? Your tricks are just. I have a dirt bike. I rarely ride it. I'm more into four wheels, as you know.
Yep.
I went off track the other day. We're going to leave it like that.
Yeah.
So, right. Man, popping a wheelie, as soon as I get that wheel about, 2 feet off the ground, I'm already, crapping my pants and it's going to go back on me. You don't seem to, I'm guessing you ever had that fear, or how do you start is my question. And you got your brand new bike, and are you tearing it up every time you crash by trying or attempting something?
These are great questions, and a lot of times in public, they're frequently asked questions. And for me, being on motorcycles since the age of 2, it's kind of an extension of my body. But number 2, having that being that extension, having that level of comfort when I get in the seat, I need to push to a level that someone else can't even fathom or acknowledge to make myself feel like, because I'm a competitive spirit. So I need to do something bigger than what I just did because it doesn't do anything for me anymore. So I need to go to the next level, and I keep pushing, and it's steps, and a lot of people don't see the work that goes into those steps. Like you said, the toll that it takes on your body and the potential damage to the motorcycles. We don't have foam pits. Back then, we didn't have any really protection for the bikes except for frame sliders. So it was really play at your own risk. Obviously, the injuries come, but you kind of fight through them, or, you have a career where you broken bones and stuff for a living. It's kind of odd to say, but that's kind of what I do. My tools are my body, and sometimes you break your tools. You got to get your tools fixed and get back at it as soon as possible. People have a big fear of crashing. What has made me overcome that fear? Like at one point I flipped a stoppie at about 40 miles an hour, and the bike came over and landed right on top of me. I had this scrape bar on the back of the bike, as you saw in some of the videos. And that bar went in, hit my back, punctured my lung, broke my rib from the backside. The podcast crowd isn't going to hear this, but you could see my rib that's sticking out the front of my body. And it was from a stupid crash that I got a little bit greedy and was trying to roll on the front wheel further than I should have been able to, and I was taller than I should have been, and the bike landed on me. Well, my biggest concern was, I got to tell my wife, which was my girlfriend at the time. But we had just started dating, and she was like, this knucklehead, he rides motorcycles, he does, I don't know if she was questioning herself, I'm sure. I'm speaking for her now. I'm not saying that this is what she said. I'm speaking for her. But she was probably questioning her decisions at that point because she was just wondering why I do this and why I go through it. But as time went on, and so she, at that point, this was right before a big competition back then, flipped the bike, landed on top, punctured my lung. They put in a tube into my armpit to get the water out, to get the fluid out and everything else. Got me patched up. She flew to Vegas. I was in Las Vegas. She flew from California to Vegas, came over to where we were at, picked me up. The bike was loaded, and we went back to California. And she said, well, you got to go and do this competition. I broke my collarbone as well. And I go, I broke my collarbone. She's like, that's not my fault. You got to figure it out. So I rode with a broken collarbone. This was like the beginning of the week, and I rode that weekend and rode through the pain, did what I had to do, and I learned a big lesson is, no matter how good you are, you can always get greedy, and you can always end up, this is an accountability thing for me now because I was reckless and young and didn't know if I was going to make it to tomorrow. And then I had to my wife made that click to evolve and understand that there is a tomorrow, there is the next day. And then you have people that count on you and rely on what you're doing for them to go to to be able to continue their life and the lifestyle that we had. So I learned a lot by dating this woman, my wife now, Jason Britton. I learned so much because I had such a narrow mind. It was just me and motorcycles, and then it became me and motorcycles and my kids. And then I met my wife, future wife at that time, and it just changed. Really, it was a turning point for me, and I started to understand things better. And that's right around the point that I decided to hang up my street gloves and just start trying to hone a way to become more professional and bring the stunts and shows that I did to a closed crowd that chose to be there. See, because when we were doing this stuff on the street, the participants weren't choosing to be there. They just happened to be on the freeway.
Cars and whatnot, trucks.
Yep, as I come by on the back wheel. And some of them didn't want any part of it. And I'll tell you a story, Steve. It's been rarely told, but people said, well, what made you quit riding the street? And besides my wife trying to, steer me into the right direction, I was doing a wheelie down the 405 freeway. I'll never forget this. My kids were 8 and 6. And I'm doing a wheelie, and I come up on this white Suburban, and there's all these kids piled in the back of it, and they're all looking out the window on the driver's side as I'm wheeling up next to it, and they're all cheering, and it was just such a good time. And I'm thinking, man, that's like my kids could be on a play date with them, and all these small kids. And then I come up to the driver window, and it's this woman, and she looks up, and I'd never seen fright in someone's eyes like this, and she goes, ah, and freaks out and swerves hard right.
Yeah.
The Suburban gets out of control, swerves left, right, and then she gains control, and I set the front wheel down. I was only a mile from my house, my exit. I set the front wheel down. I sped up to my exit, got off, went home, and I nearly brought tears to my eyes because I thought all I could think about was my kids, and if that was my kids in that vehicle and something happened to them and they were on a play date, I could probably never forgive the person that was driving, but I really couldn't forgive the person that caused it.
What a wake-up call that was, because you've described, I was looking on your Instagram account and some of the videos that I've been watching. You talk about, like these days, you're all about safety, and it's a protected area, and it's you and your bike with maybe some of your friends or co-riders.
Teammates, yeah.
But you referred to kind of like the street days were your hooligan days, where you're out there, and if you're on a highway, like you said, the lady in the Suburban, just because she was so afraid, she swerved.
Yep.
you'll never put anybody at risk anymore. But man, so now you're extremely responsible. You're brand ambassador for Kawasaki. You're known all over the world. You do stunts. I want to talk to you about Top Gun as well here in a little bit. But back in those days, how would y'all plan, your video shoots? Because man, I'm watching some of these things, and seemed like one of your go-to outfits was it was like an urban camo pattern. It's got a black, gray, and white, and it's kind of like one of your trademarks maybe. And man, you're just riding straight up vertical on one wheel, or you've got that kind of that low wheelie going, or you're just standing. You've jumped from the pegs to the seat, and you got your arms spread out. Some of this stuff. I mean. And I've seen a couple of guys, never at your level, but, like pulling a wheelie down the highway just like maybe 2 times in my life. So to watch you guys film all this footage on Urban Assault, you got to see this stuff on YouTube, people. But what are you thinking when you're out there doing that? I mean, back in those, let's if I can say, selfish or daredevil days on the street.
Yeah. So the mindset, when we were going to shoot, we would go out in the afternoon. We live in Southern California, so there's traffic, there's people out there. So that was our arena. Yeah. And that's, like as you walk into an arena full of people, that just gives you that drive and that motivation to go to your very, very highest level. And for us, that was our arena. So the more crowd, the more captive audience, and unfortunately at that time, they did not choose to be there. Yeah. But we would get the fist pump, or we would get whatever in traffic, and that just really fueled the fire. And like I said, I thought that everybody was just as involved and just as excited about it as I was, and the guy that was given the fist pump and whatnot. But then at that point, when I realized that there was unwilling participants that didn't want to be there, and this lady thought that I was crashing when she saw me come by and she was driving the Suburban. I realized at that moment that these are unwilling participants, and they don't want to be there. They just want to go on about their day and live their life. But yeah, we would get our crew together, a couple cars, like a BMW and a Ford truck, and we would have guys hanging out the side with a pole camera, because we didn't have GoPros at that time. Yeah. This was the early 2000s, late 90s. And we didn't have any kind of real great camera equipment. So we would put a camera on a pole that was extended out, going 60 miles an hour down the freeway, hanging out, just 100% guerrilla, grassroots, down and dirty, get the shot. And it looks like it was filmed on an old iPhone, the quality of it. It's just... It's amazing to think that we survived it. We didn't get thrown under the jail. None of that. But it was when life was a little bit more. It was a different time, It
was kind of like when I refer back to my late 90s or mid 90s wrestling days. It's still kind of Wild Wild West. Yeah. Or you could get away with it a little bit more maybe. Yeah. Or push the envelope a little harder. Yeah. Hey, growing up, we're almost the same age. You're a little bit younger than I am. What was anybody like an Evel Knievel, an influence or a hero to you coming up?
Absolutely. For me, that was a big, gigantic role model for me. Evel Knievel was the guy that I think anyone that rode motorcycles in my era looked up to, and in many eras that they looked up to Evel Knievel. For me, that was who I had always wanted to. I always wanted to be like him in so many ways. The one thing that I really loved about Evel Knievel, if he said something, and it could mean his life, he would do it. He was a man of his word. There's not a lot of people that you can shake their hand, they tell you they're going to do something, and they'll go and do it. A lot of times they'll go, "Oh no, I didn't mean that. That's too dangerous. That could kill me." He didn't care. He didn't care because he said he would do it, and he would do it. And if you owed the man $1 or an apology or anything else, he was going to come get that. And that's, I tell my wife and I tell other people, the internet has got people so misguided in life that they don't understand that's something that's you owe me, I'm punching you in the face. Like I'm just old school, Yeah. You say those types of things on the internet, on your keyboard, And if I ever come across you, it's on right there, on site. Yeah. I'm punching you in the face. That's it.
One of the things I liked about Evil was right before he'd do a jump, he would always cut a promo. And, when Evil talked, he was a consummate showman. He was very even-keeled. I think he'd have a shot or two of whiskey out of his cane or whatever before he would do something. But, man, he laid down the stakes, and he talked about how dangerous it was, how he was about to look death in the eye. And so I just loved him, and I had the little super cycle, the wind-up thing. Okay, so if Evil was a hero of yours, when I'm looking at you right now, you're on a tank of a motorcycle, and you're doing what do you call it, a stoppie?
Yep.
And you're riding on the handlebars, I guess. Okay, if he was a hero to you, Evil, okay, as far as what you're doing, like what would we call this, freestyle?
Yeah, sport bike freestyle.
Okay, sport bike freestyle. Influences, because you're one of the OGs. Was there anybody that you could look to? And I know you have a couple of friends in some of these videos, a couple of couples.
Yeah.
A guy with his girlfriend, and the girl's on the back riding backwards, and they're doing all kinds of stuff, and they're going 80, 90, 100 miles down the highway. But as far as influences on the street, was there anybody that you could look to? Because, I mean, you're kind of one of the founding guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, at that time, there really wasn't anyone. There was a few guys that had kind of done it, and it was like that was our squad, even though we didn't live in the same areas. There was guys like the Starboys, like the Las Vegas Extremes, Paulie Shearer and Derek Daigle, Starboy Scott, Darius Kashabi. There's all these guys back when that were doing the same thing, but now everything is so instant. If we made a video, they wouldn't know anything of what we were doing until that video came out on disc. Now, you can upload a video. You can do something right now and post it live. You can have it happening live right now, and people can see a brand new trick that you're unveiling or whatever. And the world and all of your following can see it right then. It wasn't like that before. We sold these videos, these disc copies, or actually VHS copies back when, out of the trunk, at motorcycle dealerships, at dealer conventions. We would sell videos and I would go knock on doors at every sponsor out there, and they would all slam the door in my face. They didn't want anything to do with us because we were giving the industry a black eye, which I totally understand that now. But what they never expected was this to continue on and to evolve into something that has become now. Like, you would never, if you told someone 20 years ago, hey man, this Jason Britton guy, he's going to be doing stunts and dealer demos and supercross events and winter nationals and NASCAR events, they'd say, yeah, right. And he's going to be factory sponsored by Kawasaki and have an apparel equipment, a gear sponsor like Icon. They would laugh in your face. But you fast forward, the guy that had, I got no quit in me, man. The guy that breaks his bones and gets back up and does it again and has no quit, that's going to keep knocking on your door. Eventually they go, man, what do you want? Man, I just want to be part of your brand. You make a great product, whatever. And then I've got sponsors that have been around for close to 20 years.
You said in one of your videos, in one of your interviews, you were talking to camera and you said, hey, there's many days I could choose between gassing up my bike or eating my sandwich.
Absolutely.
Or eating lunch. And you said, hey, there's a couple of days where you can go without eating.
Yeah.
Because you're so driven, no pun intended, to get on your motorcycle and go ride because that's your passion. It puts the air in your lungs. When y'all were filming those videos, going back, as you're passing those out, were you making the videos? What was it to, like you said, handing somebody to get a sponsorship? Or could you sell them on, not black market, but as a way to monetize? Was the end goal, like you said, sponsorship? Or were you looking to sell the things at shows and stuff so you can make money off of them?
So back then, I was working with X Factor Video. Now, these guys were a video distributor, and they were making extreme videos. They just happened to stumble across me at a dealership, that I was working at, and I was working at Orange County Suzuki at the time, and they needed someone to follow a guy through the canyons to make this canyon riding video. And they heard that I was the fastest guy, one of the fastest guys in the canyon, so they came, sought me out, and I went up to meet up with them at Ortega Highway. And I was following this guy through the canyon, and it was kind of boring to me, so every time we'd get an opening, a straightaway, I would do a wheelie, and it'd be nothing but daylight. Well, I wasn't thinking about having a camera on my bike and it capturing everything that was happening. So every opening, straight up and down, and then into the corners again. And they would watch the footage back and they go, what was that? And I go, oh, that was a wheelie. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, can you do that all the time? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do, really. I'm not really a canyon guy. I mean, but they were fascinated by it. And they said, well, what else can you do? And I go, well, I can stand on the tank and I can ride the bike back. And they're like, what? They scrapped the canyon video right then and there. And we started shooting Urban Assault in 1997.
See, what a fluke or what an opportunity, or
Yeah.
just because you're popping a wheelie and all of a sudden they're looking at footage from camera like, oh my God, this is a better subject than what we're trying to capture.
Yeah, it was just
You kind of created your own opening without trying to.
Yeah, everyone had kind of seen bikes leaning over in turns. Yeah. That's old news. This was something brand new that no one had really seen and no one had really known of. So it was obviously out there. There was people doing wheelies and stuff, but it wasn't really something that you would see all the time. And I think maybe that's kind of when that whole movement really started to take off, because we were doing wheelies in traffic. We were doing wheelies on ramps, off ramps, riding backwards, doing all this crazy stuff that people had never seen. And it started creating a culture or a lifestyle. And like I said, the group would just kind of expand out, and especially having X Factor distribute the videos. They sold tons of copies of these videos, and so they got out there. The dealerships were carrying them, and next thing you know, we're showing up at Indie Dealer Show back when they had that show, and we were at X Factor Videos booth signing autographs, signing copies of these videos, and they told me back then that, they're like, oh, we can't really offer you money, but we can make a name for you, which getting videos distributed at least nationwide, really started to build a name, and it kind of just spun off from there.
Hey, talk about the motocross freestyle stuff where the guys were just really interested in jumping and trick stuff rather than so much in a motocross race, like the Metal Militia guys from back in the day. So with respect to you, just loving the wheelies, the tricks, all the stuff, pushing the creative envelope. So that was your niche. And were you not a fan of just, like superbike racing?
Absolutely. I was absolutely a fan of Superbike, MotoGP, World
But any interested in pursuing that?
Yeah. You know what? I had so much interest in road racing. I road raced for a lot of years. And I got to a crossroads because I was making money doing wheelies and stunt riding and selling videos. And I had a kind of a side income from that. But that was funding because that was extra money. I had a regular day job, and the stunt riding was making me money, and I was taking every penny I had and putting it into road racing. So it got to a point where it didn't make sense to go road racing because I didn't have that level of talent to go out, road race, be competitive, and I could cover my day of road racing, or I could cover my entry fees and hotel stay, but I couldn't cover the whole tires and everything that it costs to go out and go racing. I didn't have that type of program. I couldn't upgrade my bike. I couldn't do any of it without the stunt riding money. So I just basically changed my focus to stunt riding, and then really started to try and find a real direction to where I could actually make a living out of stunt riding.
It's always been kind of amazing to me going back to those Evel Knievel days when he was jumping that big Harley Davidson XR 750. Just the weight, and you see what Travis Pastrana and the guys are doing now on these lighter Japanese bikes. Going back to the early days, I know you're riding, Suzuki for a while, and then now you've been with Kawasaki since 2007. But just talk about not necessarily the brands, but just the evolution of how bikes became a little bit lighter. Because as I'm watching you do some of these things, some of those OG videos, man, when you're coming down and I guess you're like practicing, and like, man, when you're coming down off a wheelie or something went wrong and you're trying to stop that bike, and that's a big, heavy bike, just talk about just how the progression of the street bikes have come.
Yeah, the evolution is insane. I mean, the bikes went from very archaic, 2 wheels and a motor to now they have such incredible electronics packages. They have traction control, they have ABS, they have IMUs that have lean angle and all this different stuff. A lot of it, I still ride the bike like it's 2 wheels and a motor, like no traction control, no ABS. I'm on the front wheel, back wheel, sliding the bike, doing things that it shouldn't do. But the evolution, the weight savings, the bike's flickability, how agile the bike is on the front wheel and on the back wheel, working with a tire manufacturer like Dunlop, being able to get grip in areas where you shouldn't even have grip when you're carving on the side of the tire on the front wheel, as well as on the back wheel and using air pressures like 60 and 70 PSI in the rear tire so you can really swing this bike out super wide and fast. That evolution has made this sport, made the bar go up so high that a wheelie is really, it's something that a very entry-level rider can do now versus that being a big thing. Doing a burnout or riding the bike backwards is all kind of, yeah, okay, well, what can you do besides that? The bikes only weigh, my bike with fuel in it weighs 400 pounds. My previous bikes back when I started, the bikes weighed nearly 500 pounds. So 100 pounds weight savings. I was carrying about 195, 200 pounds on my body at the time when I was doing this in the beginning. And then I evolved and realized that, man, I need to be around 165, 170 pounds to be very proficient and for me to be a more complete package with the bike. So I think it's all evolved. I think you have to continually evolve just as the times have changed and it's now everything is marketing-wise very social media driven. Everything changed. So you have to adapt and change or get left behind in the last, decade. It just, everything changed so much. And that's been my success is I've been able to adapt and see the change coming and be on that cusp of when it's happening.
Hey, man, are you feeling like a jabroni taking your carcass all over town for all of your office supplies and equipment? With all sorts of pro wrestling and sports on TV, you've got better things to do with your time. Take a load off and let our guys at Zorro.com make your life a lot easier. Zorro.com, spelled Z-O-R-O, is where you'll find everything you need for businesses of any size and almost any industry in one place. Electrical, plumbing, contracting, manufacturing. Don't sweat it because Zorro has you covered. Zorro.com has tools and equipment, safety and office supplies, cleaning gimmicks, and more from brands you know and trust, such as Stanley, 3M, Milwaukee, Schneider, and Rubbermaid, just to name a few. Zorro.com offers amazing customer service from real people based in the U.S. And you'll dig the fast, free shipping on orders of $50 or more. Just for listeners of the Steve Austin Show, visit Zorro.com/Austin to sign up for Z-Mail and get 15% off your first order. Again, that's Zorro.com/Austin for 15% off your first order. Zorro.com/Austin. Get it all in one place. Hey, man, thanks for listening to the Steve Austin Show for all these years. I really appreciate that. We'd like to ask a small but very important favor of you. It'll only take a few minutes, and if you're one of the first people to do it, PodcastOne will make it worth your time. Literally, we need you to complete a short survey because the information you give us can help make things better for the show and you as a listener. Just go to PodcastOne.com/survey, and everything will be right there for you. That's PodcastOne.com/survey. The first 250 people who complete the survey will get a $10 gift card to Amazon.com. And 2 grand prize winners will be selected at random to get a $100 Amazon gift card. You hear that? That's free money. It's a win-win. Our shows are supported by advertisers, so filling this out will really help us cater to needs of you as a listener. So again, visit PodcastOne.com/survey. Answer some questions, and potentially make some money along the way. Thank you for being a dedicated listener, and that's the bottom line.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
You've been doing this for so long, 48 years, and you're 50 years old.
I know, my whole entire life.
Take me to, or an old, because like now, an old practice day where you're specifically practicing on a trick. I mean, Man, when I'm watching you just jump from the pegs to the seat, probably rudimentary for you, but I mean, it ain't happening in my life.
Yeah.
Or sitting on a steering wheel, or the handlebars, riding down the road. I mean, or riding backwards, or you've got your bike, it's doing a burnout. You're twisting the throttle, you're facing backward, you're standing beside it. I mean, this is second nature to you. It's just like a reflex of yours. But specifically, a practice in the younger days, or just like maintaining those skills today. How do you go about a practice session? I know you stay in shape. I know you're a workout fanatic. But what did you do back in to bring your skills up specifically to a gig or a stunt?
Well, I would really have to back when I didn't think about anything. Honestly, I did not like to carry thoughts around with me. I like to get out on my motorcycle, and I would think, I'm riding down the road at 40 miles an hour. I want to jump up to the tank because I could. So it's really about just linking tricks together. So I'd be going 40, and I would stand up on the pegs, and then I would stand up on the tank, and then I would stand up, and I have my arms out to the sides. And that trick was called a Christ Air because you look like a cross and like you were cruising down the street. And I thought there's got to be a quicker, easier way to do this. So we went to my buddy Scott Tedrow, who is a dear friend for life now. He owns a company that my wife is the vice president of. We went to his house to go out for a ride one day, and I go, "Hey man, I think I'm going to jump from the pegs to the tank and into a Christ Air." And then he's like, "What?" It just blew his mind that I would even think something like that. And I told him that, and we left his house and pulled out, and he's like, he's got a camera on his tank, and he turns his camera on, and my other buddy was on the street and he with a handheld camera, and he's videotaping it. And I go, well, here we go. Like there's no thought, just do it. How bad can it go? So I jump from the pegs to the tank into a Christ, and it was like, wait, what just happened? And that was it. That was the whole buildup was that right there. Like, it's going to happen. If you're going to film it, whatever. But I'm doing it. It's like I'm going now. And so the funny thing is I pull over, and it's like a big celebration, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe they've never blown their mind. And they go, well, what is it called? What's the trick called? And I'm like,
gotta have a name.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So I sat there a couple minutes, and I said, elevator. Call it the elevator, because you're going up and landing to the next floor, basically, onto the tank. So that became the elevator, and that's how tricks came about back then. And now, you just let your mind open up. I go to bed at night thinking about motorcycles. I wake up in the morning thinking the same thing. And if I have dreams that seem a little bit wild or crazy, I try and understand how I can apply that to the motorcycle. And it's a longer, drawn out thought process. And now you start in pieces. You link you have the beginning of the trick. Okay, I got that figured out. The next part of the trick, until you can link that trick like standing on the tank. Now you're not stepping up. So now you're just evolving that trick into another level of a trick.
Talk about, coming up, getting on a bike at 2 years of age, learning all this stuff. And, like as far as practice, I mean, you just went out there, you just rode.
Yep.
Almost, freestyle. Okay. We were riding in a car the other day. We went out to do the side-by-side ride. And you and I and your wife and the driver, we were riding in the same car. And we started talking. We started talking neck surgeries because we both had been on the knife a few times. I had C3-4 fused up, and you showed me pictures of your X-ray of your neck, and you've got, 3 levels fused?
Yep, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
All right, let's talk about the nitty-gritty, because you're talking about the fun part, the adrenaline factor, and I've seen the speedometer on some of the bikes when you're on 2 wheels. I mean, dude, I think there's one of you doing over 140.
Yeah.
Let's tell some stories about a few crashes or a couple of gigs. I mean, because let's go through it. I got, both rotators redone, some ACL, PCL, this arm don't straighten out, C3-4. I got a bunch of stuff, but man, I think you've gone on record as saying you've basically broken almost every bone in your body.
Yes, I have. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it goes back to, we didn't have a specified training regimen. We didn't have foam pits. We didn't have any of those safety nets. And I didn't have the mindset to really think things out very thoroughly. I would just kind of, like the elevator, when I learned that, I just went for it. A lot of the stuff, I just went for it so I could get it out of my head and not have it, sit there and dangle over me and entice me and then make me go, oh, I don't know. I didn't want to talk myself out of trying things. So I would always just go out and try it. And then the outcome was the outcome. But, things aren't always perfect and don't always go right. And sometimes you have more issues or more crashes when you got something figured out and you don't pay attention enough to what you're doing. And some of my worst crashes were from just getting lazy. The first broken neck was riding motocross, overshot a triple jump, flat landed and whipped my head into the top tree, broke the orbital around my eye, broke my cheekbone, my face in like 7 places. Didn't realize I broke my neck at that time. Lost my sense of taste and smell in 2001 because of a broken neck. It was putting pressure on my olfactory nerve, and I didn't realize that. I didn't know anything about an olfactory nerve.
No.
And I only knew that my face was caved in and I needed to get it fixed. So I went in and saw an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And he got me all fixed up. We never went into my neck. In 2008, I broke my neck. I was drifting. I got flung high side off the bike because the bike started low siding. I got flung high side and I was drifting at a loading dock area where the trucks back into, where there's a cement wall. And I got high-sided, and I flew sideways head first into the wall. And you don't understand it, but you know about stuff that doesn't move or is hard to move. When you hit it, something has to give. So you're a big, strong guy. Something's got to give. Your bones in your neck, your arms, your shoulders, all that stuff is going to give. Mentally, you can be strong. Physically, these things break. Stuff breaks. It's just a known factor. And so I broke my neck. I was laying there paralyzed. I couldn't feel anything. I thought my arms had been cut off because I couldn't feel them. And these guys loaded me onto a motorcycle ramp.
But hold on, you're so cerebral. What are you thinking at this time?
Well, for me, I was thinking, this is insane to you, probably thinking. The first thing I thought was, my wife's going to kill me, number one. Number two, I can't ride motorcycles again because I was paralyzed. So these guys that were out there at the spot with me, they run and grab their motorcycle ramp because they didn't want to pick me up and have me do all kinds of weird stuff. I'm on my side. They roll me onto my back onto this motorcycle ramp. It's a 2.5 foot wide ramp, and they load me into the back of their van and they take me to the hospital, to Huntington Beach Hospital, and they're like, what happened? Everybody was there with, I don't know what happened.
Nobody's telling you that.
He was riding his motorcycle. Well, they didn't want to say. He was out drifting, and he went headfirst into a wall, but they just said, he injured his neck, he hit his head, yada, yada, yada. So...
Are you still wearing your helmet?
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, so at that point, they get the helmet off. They get me in a C-collar, and they get the helmet off, and they get me kind of stabilized. And I'm starting to get feeling, but I still didn't have movement in my legs. So I'm getting feeling and movement in my arms, but my legs were not working. And so they're trying to get me stabilized, but they couldn't take MRIs and scans because there was so much swelling and inflammation, and that really makes the picture hard to get the picture. So I just sit in the hospital for a couple days, get the inflammation down. They had me on all these machines, and finally they were able to get me in, and I got movement back. Once the swelling started to dissipate because it was putting so much pressure on the nerves. And the doctor says, well, the good news is you're alive and you can move and everything else. The bad news is you destroyed your back, L3, 4, 5, and C, 2, 3, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 in your neck is destroyed. So we're going to have to go in, clean that up, put artificial spacers in there because your discs are destroyed, and then put plates to hold everything together. And I said, all right, well, so be it. Let's get it done. I'm going to be able to walk and everything and ride my motorcycle again. The doctor's like, hold on. I'm going to be able to ride a motorcycle again. That's his first thing is like, no, because motorcycle, like in his mind, motorcycles are dangerous. Look where they landed you.
There. Yeah.
They brought you here, and it's not your thing. And for me, and I don't know about you, but with that competitive spirit, when someone tells you can't, that just means I got to show you that I can now, because they just said no, and I don't take no. So this guy puts me all back together, and this was in December of 2008. And in the end of December, 2 weeks later, I was at the IMS motorcycle show doing a stunt show with the team. And the doctor just about lost his mind. I had a television show at that time called Superbikes. We had the camera crew out there. And so this was like the doctor didn't know any of it until the show aired and everything all came out. Because I would go and lie to his face. Oh, yeah, doc, I just been trying to get better and sitting up at home and this and that. And the whole time I was working to get back on my motorcycle because I knew the IMS show in my hometown in Long Beach or close to Huntington Beach was coming up.
Yeah, but dude, you had to been in a hard collar.
Yeah, and I was, but I was in my mind.
Rode?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Dude, when I got fused up, mine was just one level. The guy, Youngblood, was going to do 3 levels, but he said, "Hey man, based on what you do, let's go conservative. Let's just do C3-4." So anyway, I got my hard collar on, and man, I'm used to being on the road. So I'm like, I'm going crazy. But I would limp around my property on a little four-wheeler. Yeah. And then I got that soft collar on. When you get the hard collar on, you think, man, you go to the soft collar and think, man, does this soft collar really even work? Yeah. You take it off, it's like your neck's sore the next day. It's like, hey, man, it does work. It holds up your freaking head. It holds your neck ain't worked in a long time.
It holds up that 8-pound
Dude,
ball.
You are you're really smart, but you're about half crazy.
Yeah, I guess I'm really bullheaded, and I learned where I get that, and I get that from my mom. And she is such a soldier, man. My mom's 78 years old. She had hip surgery. She went in for surgery on a Tuesday, got out on Thursday. I got her all set, ready for bed, and I told her, "Mom, if you need anything, I'm right upstairs. Just give me a call. I'll come right down. I'll get you set up." She's bullheaded. She wouldn't call me. She got up to go to the bathroom, gets in her walker. She couldn't get through the doorway, so she sits the walker there and fell. She fell, re-broke her hip, broke her femur as well when she re-broke her hip, could not move, couldn't move her leg. She was internally bleeding, didn't realize it. And I told her, "Mom, you got to go to the hospital." "I'm not going to the hospital." I said, "Mom, you got to go to the hospital." "I'm not going." She slept in her bed that night, woke up the next day, flushed because she'd been losing blood internally. And I said, "You got to go to the hospital. We got to get you." And I couldn't get her out of bed. There's no way to get her in a car. I had to call 911, have the medics and firefighters come, 8 firefighters and paramedics, get her onto this gurney. They gave her a shot to calm her, to take the pain away. They get her on a gurney. They rush her to the hospital. The doctor takes x-rays. She fractured her femur in a couple spots, had to have a bigger incision, remove the brand new hip replacement socket that they just put in a longer one so it would bite into the bone more, and then screw that thing in, put some plates in her femur, put her all back together. And I mean, just what the doctor told me when she went in for her first surgery. Sometimes they don't wake up from these because she's 78 and although she's in good health, there's no guarantees. The second one, he says the same thing. I got to tell you again, she might not. Her body's been through a lot of trauma. They had to give her blood when she got to the hospital after the first surgery in the fall. She's the strongest person I know, and she's doing great now. But I mean, that was a really tough time for me to see. But it taught me so much about myself. This is from August until right now, current day. She's still fighting it and going through it and getting stronger and better each day. And I just go, man, I see where I get it. And I see it also made me understand what I put people through that are close to me, because to go through that with her and see what she's trying to do and me just going, no, you can't, no. And for her to keep trying to I just go, okay, I get it. I gotta start considering other people when I'm doing the things that I do. But obviously I'm younger and I know my body really well and I've been through a ton of stuff. but it makes you reflect on things and think up a little differently.
Way back in the day when you met your wife and she was just your girlfriend, would she get on the bike with you? Would she ride with you?
She did in the beginning all the time, and then as time went by, and as we stopped riding the street, other than just like going to a bike night or out to this or that, because both of us kind of barely ride the street at all now because it's just such a risk. A lot of people on their phones texting and just not paying attention and not seeing motorcycles has really kind of pushed me away from it. I go on short rides. I don't ride in big groups. I just stay away from all the stuff that entices you to go out and do hooligan stuff. I just like to enjoy the wind in my face and ride motorcycles for the ride. So it's either on a track, it's on a serene road, a nice quiet, without a lot of people around. And for me, the risk isn't worth it trying to commute or do this or that. It's just, there's too many people not paying attention in that morning rush or afternoon rush.
I got up this morning, and we've been out here in the desert. Man, in the desert, the warm weather is supposed to make you feel better. Man, it took me about 30 seconds to get up and get going today. And normally I always say, hey, man, on 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, usually I'm about 1.
Yeah.
Anything, if I'm on the scale. As far as you, being and all the high-impact stuff, slamming into concrete walls or hitting asphalt pavement, like, how do you feel in general?
You know what? I'm up and out of bed quick. The only time that I feel beat up is a couple hard days of practice back to back, or a show weekend where you ride for 30 minutes, heart rate at 170, 80, and you're just laying it all out there, and you're really not paying attention to if you twist your knee or you do anything weird, or if you bail off and hit the ground. I mean, your adrenaline's up. You don't feel any of that. And then you got shows the next day, so there's no time for that. You sit in the hot tub or you sit in the ice bath. Sometimes I'll go to, if I've got a lot of shows back to back to back, I'll go grab a few bags of ice from Walmart or something local in town. I'll come back, I'll fill up the tub, and I'll throw ice in there, and I'll get in the tub for a 20-minute ice bath just to get all the inflammation down and to just get my body to recover.
Dude, you've done a lot of stunts. You've been in movies. People, we were talking the other day, said people a lot of times will hire me to do things that other people won't do. But just with respect to the exhibitions and stuff like that, like where does most of that stuff happen? Like is that just you performing solo, or just with one of your sponsors, or how does that go down? Because I understand you getting tuned up to go out there and do your thing.
Yeah. So my wife books, we do like 30 to 40 different events throughout the year. My wife books all of those events. So sometimes it will be, say we follow the Supercross tour for about 12 events, for 12 of the Supercrosses, and we do Z-World there. And then we do dealer demos. So a dealer will have an open house, like a Kawasaki dealer will have an open house, and we'll go out to their dealership. We'll do stunt shows, usually 3 shows a day, and then for a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, depending. And then sometimes we'll do bike night events at dealerships, and it'll be like a the season opener, whatever they call it. Like, right. One of the dealers upstate New York at Hebler's Power Sports, they do a season opener because they get snow. They're snowed in. And then in around May or June is when they can actually go out and do their first ride. The roads are cleared because there's gravel normally. And so they'll all come out to what is a bike night. They shut down the street, and we'll do stunt shows out there. We do so many different types of it. I've done shows for churches. I did a show at my daughter's career day for all the parents come out. There's firefighters, police officers, lawyers, plumbers, you name it. And there's me, this stunt rider guy, and they shut down the basketball court. They cordoned it off, and I did stunt shows for my daughter's 8th grade career day. So there's so many different events that my wife books, whether they're they're charity or whether they're nonprofit or because we've done stuff for cancer awareness, breast cancer awareness, heart and lung, just a bunch of different stuff. And I'd like to do more if there's a possibility. We've done stuff for wounded warriors with Monster Energy, just a bunch of stuff that I would never have imagined that motorcycles could have brought me to. And, for me, the big thing is to give back. And a big thing is putting smiles on people's faces, so it's always cool to see that young eye that's watching and just glued to what you're doing and know that they might not be a stunt rider, but it's just to see someone have this look in their eye and like surprise, shock, and awe. It's just incredible entertaining, as you know.
But when you go out there and you do some of that supercross stuff and you follow everything motorsports anyway, and everything on two wheels for sure. And but when you show up, those younger guys that are in the dirt, they know what time it is when you're there. I mean, they know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because you cast a pretty long shadow. You're on a street bike, but I mean, if you're on two wheels, you know who you are. Yeah.
At the same time, though, so you've gotten that point to the point that people understand and know who I am in the industry. Yes, I feel like I've been cemented here for a while, so people do know who I am. And then at the same time, I have these heroes or these people that I look up to for their talents and their abilities, just as you probably do as well. You see someone that's got talent. Hey, I don't deny that because I know that it's hard work and effort that put them there. Yeah. Like yesterday, we had a few autograph sessions, and I was with Jeremy McGrath, longtime hero of mine.
Classy guy.
Yep. So the OG hero of Supercross. Yes. And then I was also signing alongside Eli Tomac, the motocross champion in the 450 class this past year and the past 3 years before that. And then Adam Cincerulo, who's up and coming. And I actually went on a family trip with Adam and his family and my family and a few other with Kawasaki. And I've known him since he was a small kid. And just to see him come up and now finally be on a 450 and racing in a class that I think he belongs in, this 450 class, and I think he's going to do great things for Kawasaki. And I'm a fan, man. I'm a true fan of motorsports, of other forms of athleticism, martial arts, football. I'm just a fan.
But sticking to motor things, and I want to talk to you again. I'll come down to Huntington Beach and we'll talk MMA after a UFC fight or something like that. But I also know that you're into sports cars because I've seen you in an SL65. Was that an Aston Martin you took off in one time? And maybe a Porsche as well. Yeah. Like what's your flavor on four wheels?
Four wheels. So I do have that SL65 Black Series. Now that car is one of 175 units ever made, ever produced, only for 1 year in 2009. My car sits in my garage. It turns 10 years old this year. It turned 10 years old this year in August, and it's got 10,000 miles on it. I barely drive it, but the car makes 970 horsepower and 1,020 foot-pounds of torque, a 12-cylinder, twin turbo. And you speak the same language. I know you're into muscle cars and stuff like that, so you know what it takes to get those kind of numbers. The Mercedes stuff is incredible to me. You can drive it every day, or you can drive it, once every few months, as long as you keep the battery charged and keep fresh fuel in it. But I just love cars. I've had a bunch of different stuff from the Murcielago to the McLaren stuff to just a bunch of different cars. The 911 twin turbo or Turbo S. I'm sorry, and I can't keep them all. I've had a brand new Z06. I sold it so I can get the new mid-engine Z06 ZR1, whatever is going to come. We don't know yet because it's been delayed and pushed back and pushed back. They're having problems now twisting the frame.
I read about that.
Because it makes like 1,000 horsepower. So for me, I'm just like chomping at the bits to get my hands on this new car. The wife hates the thought of it because I don't need any more cars in her mind. But
okay, but here's the question. What year model was your Z06?
2017.
I got a 2017.
Yeah.
And it's got 1,900 miles on it.
Yeah.
And you're just giving insane numbers of that SL65. And this thing, as you know, is 650, 650.
650, 650.
And man, when I stomp on that, well, I don't stomp on it on asphalt.
Yeah.
If I'm going 30 or 40 and you just nail it, I'm going to go off the road.
It goes all over.
It's not for, it's too much for me.
Yeah.
So you really want that new Vet?
I do. I want the mid-engine all-wheel drive car because it has so much more for me to offer. Because, they came out with the ZR1, which was kind of like, okay, I got the Z06. It didn't make any sense for me to get the ZR1 because it's rear-wheel drive, it's front engine. I like the Ferrari stuff. I like the mid-engine, the Audi stuff. And I knew that the ZR1 wouldn't be much faster than the Z06. I mean, it doesn't put up any better numbers.
Not really. I mean, what, like 750 on the horsepower?
750, but the numbers 0 to 60, a quarter mile, it doesn't really do any better because
you got the big wing. A little much.
It just wasn't.
Yeah.
It just wasn't my style, and I didn't know and I wasn't a Corvette guy before my Z06. I had kind of thought, oh, cool, but then I realized that there was so much bang for buck in that car that it didn't make sense to not get one. So I got, So, because I could afford
Smoking
it.
like a true car guy.
Yeah, it was $75,000-$80,000, and I thought I can afford this car, and I cannot because my Black Series is kind of the unobtainium. You can't. They only made 175, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that car was its whole life been very babied. I bought it. I did like $50,000 worth of upgrades and work to it, and then it just sat and it sits, and that's going to be my forever car. I'll keep that car forever. My Z06, I knew that car would come and go because it wasn't that much money. They're going to make something bigger and better. And at that time, in 2007, they were talking about a mid-engine car, and they were talking about making these changes. They're going to call it the Zora. And so I said, I'll buy this car, and I'll wait until, it entices me enough to sell the car and get something else. Fast forward, 2019, the news is in, the mid-engine car is coming. I'm super hyped about it. I've been on all the forums, following everything. And I thought, okay, I got to sell my car so I'm ready. I have a place to park it and the whole bit. And they released a Stingray. And then they talk about the problems that they're having with the chassis and how it's flexing or twisting. And it makes 1,000 horsepower. So all these things are exciting to me. But I want to get the car. I might wait until it's been out for a year. I don't know. I want to make sure that this is a worthy car to buy for me.
Man, back in the day, when I got my 2017 Z06, I got it used. The guy had got his dream car at 82, and sadly had a heart attack, so his son needed to get rid of the car because it wasn't his car, and he was going to make payments on it. But I got a really good deal on it. Yeah. So I didn't take the hit. Yeah. And those things sticker. So I got the thing on the steel. I'm staying in a hotel about 20 minutes down the road because we kind of make this our 4-day vacation. We brought our dogs. Man, there's a couple of I'll show them to you on my iPhone, just a couple of really cool Ferraris out in the parking lot. And I'm like, holy smokes, man, these things are just beautiful. And,
wow,
what's that?
That's a 360.
Okay, that's a 360. Right. What's this one?
And that's a 458.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That is just is that
beautiful.
Not stunning?
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, back to my point. I'm just, you went from not having any money to eating peanut butter and macaroni.
Pasta. Yeah, peanut butter and pasta.
So what does a car like that go for?
Oh, that 458's about 300 and some change. And then the 360 is, now you can get them at a better deal, but, they're a lot of money.
I just can't see it. I was when the red one showed up first and it's kind of parked over there where we're at. I'm in a Yukon. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'm
in a Tacoma, by the way, out here. Yep.
I was laughing. My wife says, "What are you laughing about?" I said, "Anytime I see somebody with something that cool or just that's beautiful, right?"
Yeah.
I was going to ask the guy that if I could find him. That was that red Ferrari because this was over in a different area. I was going to say, "Hey, man, is that your red Ferrari?" I said, "You like that thing, or how is that?" It's kind of like a stupid question.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I can never put that much money down. My DNA won't allow that.
Yeah.
But, man, just seeing them in a parking lot is like, those aren't everyday cars. Way back in 2001, I had a twin-turbo 911.
Yeah.
Or whatever the other numbers are on. But anyway, that car, that was an all-wheel drive car.
Yep.
And, golly, I sold it when it came out, the new Cayenne turbo SUV way back. And I kind of ended up wrecking that thing. And but I always regretted selling that car because those things are tanks. That's a daily driver.
Yeah,
you can drive
for
it fast, you can drive it slow, but you can just drive it anyway. Same with the Corvette, but not so much, I think, with the Ferrari.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to ask you your thoughts in general on the cars.
For me, okay, so that Black Series is a $309,000 sticker price.
Holy cow.
And for me, that was I could not justify that. I could not fathom myself spending that kind of money on a car. And
you said it was one of how many?
175. Okay. 175 units in the U.S., 175 in Europe. So 350 total made, but 175 in Europe, 175 in the U.S.
Okay, how'd you do it?
So I I'd start talking to my wife about it, but I was like, kind of like not knowing that you belong here. And I still hadn't understood that. And I told my wife, and I told my wife about the car, and she saw how crazy I was in my head about it. And she said, you know what? You break your bones for a living, and it's hard. Your money is hard earned, but we're in a good place. We're in a good place, and that buying that car isn't going to hurt us. She said, you can't take it with you. The kids' college funds are there. Like, everything is in place that if you want to buy this car, I had two Mercedes at that time. I had a CL 550 and a C63, or I'm sorry, a CLS 63. This is in 2008. And I told my wife, yeah, whatever I'd have to do, I'll sell both cars or whatever. And she's like, okay, well then we'll do it. So I sold the CL 550 and the CLS 63, and I had about close to 170,000 from those two cars after them being paid off and everything. And I put that and I put the other change together, everything I had, without disrupting the household. And I was able to buy the car. And then I was afraid, like you said, like these are parked at your hotel.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't drive them out to a hotel and let a valet guy drive them and this and that and have just people all around them. They sit in my garage. If I go to the beach, I park in the middle of nowhere where no one's around me. I'll drive it where I'll interact with other people, but it's too much investment for me to just have it sit out in front of a hotel where anything can happen to it. And But
there's always that one guy when you're driving something like that. I mean, it's just like in my Yukon. If I do park it, 10 spaces, 20 spaces away, just because I don't want it dinged.
Yep.
It's an SUV. I just don't want it dinged. And here comes that guy
parks
right
next to you.
Right next to you.
Right next to you.
Why did you park next to me?
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
I'm minding my own manners. I wasn't the guy that jacked up two parking spots.
Yep.
I was the guy that just parked away from everybody.
I get it. People fixate on vehicles that are parked in their own world, and they fixate and are drawn right to them somehow. I've had that same experience, and it drives me nuts.
Before I ride off in the sunset, you have a rare day off, and today's my day off. I got to go check in and see how my wife's doing. Is Jason Britton Motorsports still around?
No Limit Motorsports, yeah. We're still in Westminster, California.
Okay, so tell everybody where they can find you, your shop, and what you do, and all about IG, other than what I told them in the open of the show.
Yeah, so I do have a motorcycle parts and accessory shop so that we do service as well. We do not sell motorcycles, but we'll service just about anything, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, or side-by-side, or jet skis, all of it. 7124 Garden Grove Boulevard, right there in Westminster, California. My Instagram is Jason Britton, Britton 1, the number 1, and that's it. You'll be able to find me right there. Facebook is Jason Britton. And I do have a Jason Britton YouTube channel. I don't keep up on the content like I should, but I'm going to start doing better with that stuff. And make sure you check out my man Steve Austin's podcast. This guy has some cool stories and cool experiences, and we got a lot of similarities that I'm really stoked about.
Oh, man, I look forward to talking to you again, and I'm glad to hook up on the podcast. I appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, until next time, Steve.
Catch you down the road.
All right, buddy.
And hey, man, while you're online, you should get your car insurance figured out. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you can be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. But before I do that, I want to give my guest a shout-out and a thank you, Jason Britton, for giving me a part of his day. Follow him on Instagram at Jason Britton, Britton 1. And check out his website, jasonbritton.com. And if you need something to work on, modified, check out his shop over there in Westminster, California, No Limit Motorsports. As you heard, this man went through technical school. He's got his own shopping place over there. But anyway, a class act and a real savvy dude, man. Enjoyed talking to you. Hey, man, don't forget to rate and review the Steve Austin Show on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends to check us out. If you want to reach me here on the podcast, send me an email, questionsteveaustinshow.com. Give me some guests that are within striking distance here in Los Angeles that you'd like for me to talk to, and I will be happy to talk to them. Hey, man, Broken Skull IPA, my beer from El Segundo Brewing Company, just made it over to Massachusetts, New Jersey, and now New York. Check out the website, elsegundobrewing.com, to find a location near you that sells it and enjoy this badass beer. Hey, man, don't forget the King of Attitude shirts are available now at Pro Wrestling Tees. And I've got a few more designs that we're about to release. ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin. Pocket knives. I love them. I have two. The Broken Skull and the Working Man. Check them out at my Amazon store. Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. Folks, I want to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially Zorro.com, Geico, and BetOnline.ag. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. And if you need more info on my sponsors, check out the show description to this episode for details. Folks, I am on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Steve Austin BSR. I've got a couple of irons in the fire, and we will be making announcements about that coming up very soon. Folks, until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.